Hi, my name is Benjamin Borton. Allowing foreigners to join the country as naturalized citizens has made the United States stronger and more diverse. Giving the right to vote to all of its citizens allows the government to better represent its people with a large variety of experiences. Immigration is often portrayed as corrupting our country and values, or shown as U.S. being selfish by not letting people in. However, this country is founded on the principles of blending cultures together. I want to look at how this melting pot came together and the right to vote for the inclusion of all races, gender, economic status, and ages. Now, let's listen in on the National Immigration Forum to find out how the immigration process works.
There's a screening process and approval process. So the immigrant has to go to the consular office at an embassy overseas. They have to go through a rigorous health screening to make sure they don't have any communicable diseases. There's a check to make sure that the person will not become a public charge to the United States. So all of the documentation that shows that the employer or the family member here is willing to take responsibility, that the individual coming is who they say they are and is of sound mind and body and is likely to be able to support themselves within a short time.
Next, let's take a quick look at some of the rights of U.S. citizens. Freedom of expression, freedom of worship, a prompt and fair trial, the right to vote, are there elections in your country?
There are not elections, as we are a communist country.
How is voting different in the United States?
Well, to begin with, there is voting in the United States, and there's no voting in Cuba, so very different.
How important is the right to vote for someone deciding to become an American citizen?
I think it's one of the biggest parts. Me coming from a communist country where I had no say in government or anything in my city or country, the ability to vote gives me a voice, so it's very important.
The 14th Amendment greatly expanded the protection of civil rights to all Americans, including recently freed slaves. The 15th Amendment granted the right to vote to men of any race or color.
There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges.
The 24th Amendment abolished the poll tax.
Today is a triumph for freedom, as huge as any victory that's ever been won on any battlefield. This law covers many pages, but the heart of the act is plain. Wherever, by clear and objective standards, states and counties are using regulations or laws or tests to deny the right to vote, then they will be struck down. Thus, this is a victory for the freedom of the American Negro, but it is also a victory for the freedom of the American nation.
The 19th Amendment granted the right to vote to women.
Victory came in 1920. Women got the vote on an equal footing with men, and there was jubilation among the suffragettes. With the vote in hand, women plunged into the upcoming political campaigns. In the American presidential election of 1920, women turned up at the polls by the millions.
The 26th Amendment lowered the voting age to 18. It was the fastest amendment ever ratified. Hi, Mr. Borton. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
It's a pleasure, Ben. How can I help you?
Do you think it was important for members of the military to have the right to vote?
Yes. If a young gentleman had the right to serve his country, he had the right to vote in how it was managed and maintained.
Do you think the lowering the voting age impacted the 1972 president election in which Nixon won by a landslide?
Yes, I do. President Nixon was predicted to lose that election. However, an onslaught of young voters pulled him in.
Thank you very much for talking with me today.
You're very welcome.
To be the beacon on the hill that this country claims it's supposed to be that democracy, requires that we have fewer obstacles to the right to vote. We're one of the 7 nations that takes away the right to vote for life because of the felony conviction. There are so many issues that we have to overcome, and if we look at history, we can see that this is not the first go around. It's just another machination in the guise of 21st century voter suppression that has too many similarities to what happened in the 18th and 19th centuries. We have to understand the intent behind the 15th Amendment, the history that gave rise to it, the effect of it, those people who opposed it, and the mechanisms that were put in place as obstacles so that we can better understand today the voter suppression we're dealing with, the need for white supremacy, the mechanisms to attempt to maintain white supremacy, and as we go forward into the future.
Citizenship is important in order to form a more productive union. The government represents its people by giving the right to vote to all of its citizens, regardless of race, gender, age, or economic status. The rich influx of immigrants continues to make the United States stronger as they become citizens.
I hereby declare on oath that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
And that I take this obligation freely.
And that I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.